What some of us are fighting for is to see that this oppressive system is crushed. We don't care whether, I don't even care whether I would be part of the top echelon in the room. I'm not worried, but I'm dying to see a change that, in the system. That's all. That's all.
Taigara mumako Zimbabwe, 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 manya dakabatesa Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe, Taigara mumako Zimbabwe, 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 manya dakabatesa Zimbabwe, vakomana vasikana Zimbabwe, magorila makomo Zimbabwe, manya dakabatesa
So we were addressed by Comrade Tongo. He came to our graduation, and Comrade Tongo and Comrade Mugabe. And the military attaché, it was...
in Ethiopia?
Yeah, in Ethiopia, in Addis. Military attaché was Agrippa Mtambara. He's from here in Mtambara. He's my relative because I'm Sigauke, I'm from Mtambara. So we were addressed by... Before the graduation, there was a very, very serious incident which happened. The engineering instructor, the Ethiopian guy, when he was demonstrating with the grenades, I don't know what happened to him. He reluctant to, release it, throw it in time, and it blew him up. He died in front of comrades. That was a very sad situation. Okay, on our graduation day, I remember, in Ethiopia, Ethiopians, they are very beautiful, you know them. I just want to make you laugh. Because we used to go and do medicine in the Black Lion hospitals. Okay. So we used to interact with nurses. And they used to say, I want you to marry me, I want you to take me to Zimbabwe. And I said, no, we are going for a war, so it's not possible. They have Ethiopian ladies, they are very beautiful, to be honest with you. So, Comrade Tongo addressed us. He started his song, normally that was his routine. Diro gidiwa komana, Richa tonga Zimbabwe, Richa tonga nyika yedu Zimbabwe. Tinoti pasina nyati, wakatengesa Zimbabwe. He was a very energetic man. To be honest with you, even if you were a commander, you really need to be strong enough to do eye-to-eye contact with him.
Okay.
He was a fierce man, Comrade Tongoga. And when he addressed us, you couldn't think that you are going for a war. We thought you were just going for a wedding. And he said, you are the first group of regular warfare in ZANLA forces, and you are going to open liberated zones. This is your task. And do you know that we were given, our new submachine guns, they called pot gun. Even if you go to museum in Mtare, you see a soldier dressed, comrade dressed in Ethiopian uniform and a pot gun. Okay. The pot gun machine gun has got a different sound with the other submachine gun. It could sound it to go dum dum dum. So we were given guns. You get into the plane with your gun and everything. And to be honest with you, that's why Ethiopia, they had a civil war. That's why Mugabe managed to take Mengistu here, because Mengistu, he helped us a lot. More than what the Chinese did in terms of supplying us with weapons. Because Chinese used to say, we give you this rifle, whatever, but you need to capture the weapon from the enemy, then you use that weapon. So Mengistu, he did a lot. He gave us a lot of, because he was being supplied by the Soviet Union. So he had all the guns, anti-air machine guns, everything. He gave us everything. So coming back to the front after that addressing by Comrade Tongo. I was deployed in, because that stage, sorry, I have to take you back. There was a time when it was said, we are no longer going to stay here in the rear bases, either in Mozambique or anywhere. We are all going in front, everyone. Military instructors, everyone, except those who were ill, were in the hospital. It was an order from Comrade Tongo that at this stage of war, we have to go and open liberation zones. We have to go and operate in front. Even if you want to train, you train them in front. So I was deployed in Nehanda sector in Tete. Okay. For you to travel from Tete town in Tete to Mount Darwin to Dande there, it will take you 6 solid days by footing. So we had our ladies, they like there's here Tete, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, these are bases. So the ladies could take material. You know, women, they are very strong enough, even more than men. They are very strong. They could carry those kasha with more than 100 bullets at their back. So from base one here, they could take them to the other side till they meet the other group which is coming from front with either casualties, comrades who were injured in the front battlefield. So they could, you meet each other, you take what we have, we take what you have, we go back, and you go back with this. You see, that was the chain of supply, you see. And it was said enough, like I told you, that our Tizwe Goronga, the one who was our commander at Mugagao, he died in the battlefield, but he died along that area, on the way. You see, the enemy had a tendency of taking soldiers with the helicopter and go and drop them right inside in Mozambique and lay an ambush on our route. So that's how he died, because he was ambushed and he passed away. It was a sad situation. You can imagine losing a field commander. A field commander. It was a sad situation. So I operated in Dande. There's Dande, if you go to Dande, there is Kapiripiri, Kamsenzere, Bandimba, Nyombwe. I know every hideout in Mavradona Mountains. We used to call it Nyamara Ranges because it's a long range. Yeah, Mavradona. And so the enemy used to have what they call observers. They put their observers there to observe us if we are coming from any movement. So, sorry. Excuse.
You're quite excused.
When we get into the battlefield, most of the guerrillas, they were dressed in jeans and whatever. But ourselves, we were dressed in uniform, complete regular uniform from Ethiopia, with heavy artillery, ready to fight. And our first battle, I think they spotted us. We were about 65 there. Okay. So what happened? You know Chapungu? Chapungu, yeah. Aisiri inonzi sinyi tinoti Zimbabwe bed. Hungwe is Chapungu.
I know.
Nina, I'm a little bit of confused to Hungwe. What role did it play during the struggle? Chapungu ndio shiri ya player a role muhondo. Chapungu chakauya vamuna Mavradon vachati ko. ndozvichaita. Chikarira kudaroka, we make sure our security guys vanobuda voenda pamhene apa pachena, so that wanoita eye to eye contact nechapungu. Apa chiri pasaini yekuti the enemy is coming, you have been spotted, muenge akuya. Dzimwe nguva kana chakurumidza taikwanisa kumhanya panapa toenda kana kuti uko kune imba iriyo like a kilometer away. Muchingosvika pano pakutobombwa pemwanga muri, muri kuzoona pakutobombwa. But that time communication yakanonoka, asi takaudzwa chapungu chakauya, atakatona mahelicopter atosvika, rakutodeploya Dakota maparatroopers. Dzatanga futi ipapo. Isusu we were ready. As I told you, we were a regular force. There was no retreat. That battle started around 3 o'clock and it ended up at 7 p.m. tonight. It was a fierce battle, to be honest with you. I remember we had 8 casualties there, and some comrades died there. It was fought man to man. I remember this other comrade, his name was called David. He was muscular. His chest was broad. He had a broader chest. Like he was bayoneted by the
Rhodesian forces.
Yeah, by the Rhodesian forces, and he fell down there and there. It was horrible. It was a fierce battle, and by 7:30 p.m. at night, when it was dark, it was quiet. You could just see fire burning, the bush burning. It was horrible, to be honest with you. It was horrible. So we had a time, both sides, to rescue our casualties. There was no gunfire at that time during the night. We were picking our that was terrible. And that battle was well known up to the high command. It was called Musingwa battle.
Okay.
But, however, the good part is that we managed to liberate Dande. It was a no-go area for the white Rhodesian forces.
Okay.
And there were no longer any masses in Dande. They were in keeps. We were surviving by, our food, either by killing one of the bulls in their farms. It was horrible, to be honest with you. And the other incident as well in Dande, when we had new recruits, I don't know where were they coming, I think they were coming from Romania. It was a police, because I think, you see here, you are talking to military strategists in guerrilla warfare. We had so many experience, because the Chinese who trained us, they experienced that with the Japanese. You see. So it was policy to say, make it a must that recruits must not be attacked first by the enemy before them, attacking the enemy, so that they hold on their chest. So we went to attack one of the camps there in Mount Darwin, Chitiriri camp in Dande. No, the other side of Mavrado now, after St. Albans, there's a place called Chitiriri. And it was called Chitiriri camp. We went to attack that camp. Our senior officer there was Brian Hande Ipamwe. He is now a retired general. And we attacked that camp. But you see, the camp commander, he was lucky enough. 10 minutes before we actually attacked that camp, he drove his Land Rover going out. Maybe he was going to Mount Darwin, I don't know. And we started attacking that camp. And when we retreated after attacking, and we deployed ourselves, the other guys were we touched them. Like I said, our masses, they were no longer free, they were now in the camps. So the other unit, we tasked one of the unit to go and raid the shop. The name of this shop, it was from Nyamfukudza family. I think they are still in business. I saw one of the guys on YouTube called Nyamfukudza. That was the owner of that supermarket. Okay. Yeah. So the other guys went to get food, beef, whatever, and clothing, because we were trying to avoid to be given, clothes by anyone, because the enemy they were now putting poison, like on trousers or shirts. The moment you started wearing it, then you're gone. So it was wise enough. Okay, guys, it was wise enough to get it on our own.
Okay.
Yeah. So after we retreated, after the attack, like I told you that I also specialize in engineering. So we laid in. We knew that the following morning they are going to try and come and track us. So I laid in 2 landmines. So for you to put a landmine, what you do, you have to, the first soil on top, you put it, you take off a sheet, you put it there. The first soil, you put it on top of your sheet on the other side. When you get, the first one is the dry soil. When you get to the wet soil, you put it on its own. So that when you are putting it back, the last soil is the first soil to
cover.
Yeah, to cover the landmine.
Yeah.
So what we did, we used to put miripiri yakakwiwa.
Aisa miripiri mu landmine.
So the following morning they did that follow-up, and we were watching them
Coming.
We were in Mavrado Dona, on top of Mavrado. We used to call it Nyamarara ranges as well. So they were blown off, those 2 trucks, and that was the end of it. So that's what used to happen within the battlefield, especially in Dande, in Mount Darwin, Tete province. You see, our war, we used to fight with the animals. If baboons discovered if the baboons come across with the white soldiers, they could start to, "Whoa, whoa." But if they come across with us, there was nothing like that.
Okay.
And even if you are walking, going that way, the animal could stop in front of you. Once you discover that means there's an ambush there.
Okay.
If you said, "Oh, this is nothing," then you are, let's keep on going, you are going to die, all of you. Even snakes, not even a single comrade was bitten by snake during the war. No. And when we were sleeping during the night, there was no one to guide us. You just sleep. The security guys, they know what they do. They just take forge haribute o namata biani anda tirikurara pano wana tishengete zvatopera torara hapana munhu aigadha kuti kana. So those were the supernatural powers. Even if you are hiding there when the situation is tense, only a small bunch of tree, the enemy will just pass through you. Unless if you make some movement. But besides that, they will just pass through. So, yanga iri hondo yemdzimu yakaita kuti titore nyika ino. Now, let me go back to ZIPRA, where Nyerere forced Mugabe and Ngomo to say, if you are serious, Samora was there as well. You have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the ZIPRA forces, they were forced to go join ZANLA forces in Mozambique because we had already started operating. So what happened is, you see, those days we could do some slogan to say, Pasine mas chua chua. Chua chua, that means Pasine ZIPRA. That was, it started after that battle of Mugagao. So we were now seeing each other as enemies. But the people who are helping us within their country, it was a different situation with them. Their task was just to force you, whether if you are enemies or whatever, go and fight together. So it's like they could deploy 15 ZANLA forces and 3 maybe ZIPRAs, and they will be told, the commander will be told, do something on the way, along the way. It was horrible.
Do something easy.
Whatever.
That's
Do
what I want to
something
know.
on the way.
What's that something?
Killing each other.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the idea was to eliminate each other. They wanted to eliminate ZANLA forces when they started that battle. When they started that war with Mugagao in Morocco. I think that was the idea, to eliminate us.
Okay.
So it was now tit for tat. Or isusu ZANLA taiti tamba wakachenjera. So this is why, if you go into the history, like Pakapoera was saying there, they had to run away from that unity operation. Wana the late Mboko Mpofu, Ainzani Mboko, uyu late Vice President wa Mugabe. Mboko. Do you know kuti Honde yakapera atiza and he went to get married whatever, where he was? Because wakatiza from that side, because of that situation. Some of them, they ran away, come back to Zambia to join their other forces there.
Okay.
Yeah. So after, let's go to Lancaster House now. When Lancaster House was called, the reason why the white settlers called in for that talks, they didn't know, they knew that the stage at war now, you know, I have drawn the map here, Zimbabwe map. They knew that the stage of war, all the cities were now surrounded by ZANLA forces. Harare, we were surrounding it. People, they were in Goromonzi, and what is the other place? Noton, everywhere. Mutare was surrounded here. They were camped here in this Christmas Pass Mountain. They were everywhere. All the towns were surrounded. So Tongogara used this map in the talks. Mugabe was not a big deal in the Lancaster talks. The big deal was Tongogara. the army commander of ZANLA forces, because he had a map there. You remember, if you research, I remember Andrew Young, he used to go there. He said, Tongogara is an Iron Man. That's what he said. If you research, you'll see it on Google. Andrew Young, he said so. So, that's what they were avoiding now, because what we were left with now is bush to office.
Okay.
So they were trying to avoid that, because if we were to do bush to office, it means they were not going to get away with anything. They would just rush to the airport with maybe a small suitcase or whatever. So that's what they were trying to avoid, that type of scenario. They knew that they are being defeated. We are going to defeat them. And Tongogara could argue in the language to say, if we don't agree on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I will go back to my forces and we continue fighting. So, you remember back long time ago, Smith declared UDI, rubbing off the authority of British. That's what he did. So, on ceasefire, the Lord Solms was responsible. British was responsible, but they assigned Lord Solms. So, you can imagine, we were surrounding all the cities here. But we don't, ZANLA force, we don't know, most of us, we don't know who suggested, who erected those assembly points. Do you know that the assembly points were erected at the border, right at the border? They were erected right at the border. Like in Dande, there was Mshumbe pools down there, Mtoko down there, away from Harare. Harare, we were surrounded. Harare was now surrounded by us, but we were taken back. And at those camps, we used to know the names Joko, Mtoko, but they have their own names, military names in terms of communication, like Fox, Telma, whatever. That's the communication which they use, you know, as Rhodesian forces and the South African forces. You get the point? But on our side, we use Tongogara came. Those names, they were not using those names. So, these things happened very fast, ceasefire. It happened very fast, like a wave. Yeah, a strong wave. And during that time, we were told, but Tongogara he gave an instruction that in those assembly points, our numbers has to fluctuate, because they were counting numbers every day, twice a day, in the morning and in the evening.
Oh.
The monitoring forces. We don't even know those monitoring forces ourselves. We didn't know which country were they from. But do you know that in every assembly point they had dug themselves underground handaks? But ourselves, ZANLA forces, we had no handaks, we had nowhere to hide. And they gave us the same uniform, a khaki one, with tennis, with the same sprawl.
Okay.
General Tongo also, he ordered that our arms have to be kept where they were in the bush. You just take few arms with you into the assembly points. Myself, I never went to the assembly point. I was with the rear, at the rear,
Okay.
where we had our weapons there. But what was surprising us, there was no rest. There was no rest. The enemy was searching everywhere in the bush with the helicopters. Because that time, when we were moving into the assembly point, that's when we were told that Tongogara has been killed. You can imagine. And that time, because I am a military strategist, I knew that was the end of us. Because Tongogara was our father. He was our commander. And I know, once we were told that he is dead, I said that is the end of our life, my comrades.
Okay. You said you got the message that Tongogara has been killed, or Tongogara has died.
He has been killed by what? Road accident. Tongogara has died. Do you know that there was no, from my own point of view and my own analysis, there was, because I'm now doing the analysis as a military strategist now. Anyone is free to ask me and I can answer and convince that person. There was no verification from journalist community. You get my point? Of this, to verify that Tongogara is dead there. There was no verification. Like Reuters news agents. Reuters news agents used to work with the enemies. It was a well-advanced reporting news agents. Like I told you, that's the one which reported it in Mugagao, but they were not there. So, the enemy, they didn't believe that Tongogara is dead. Like I told you that he was a fierce man. Even Mugabe used to fear Tongogara. He was a threat to him, Tongogara. He was a fierce man. So, that's why the helicopters were going everywhere in the bush to try and search. They thought, no, they're telling lies that Tongogara is dead. He has the 1st Battalion, the Special Forces. Because, you see, like I told that the assembly points were at the border with military forces with handakes to hide. There was a plan to fight what is called a 0 hour. There were jet fighters deployed in South Africa. Said 4 for Tongogara camp, 5 Joku Mtoko. They were deployed over. So that moment they will start bombing. The monitoring forces will go into handakes to hide. Then they will finish up with us. And that was going to be the end of our liberation movement, or be the end of the independence of Zimbabwe. But the men who make us to survive that situation, it was General Tongo, because they couldn't believe that he's dead. So, like I said, the agreement was done, monitored by the British. Smith was just going to do again what they did. Britain was going to say nothing about that. If that was going to happen, they were going to say nothing about it. And that was going to be the end of us. Okay, after that, when we were being integrated into the National Army, you know, myself, I didn't go to the assembly point. From there, I came here. We were at Mount Pleasant there, at the university there. I was selected with some of the guys who were the first people to salute, to make a parade to our commander, Rex Nongo. I remember in Mount Pleasant, we were not used to use fork and knife. My comrades, they should donate ZANLA forks, you know, because we were not used to it. I spent almost 5 years in the war before I came back home. So, I was chosen to be the officers who were supposed to go to Nigeria for officers training when others were still in the assembly points. And I remember we were given 6,000 each.
Yes.
I don't know which current were we using now,
Oh,
but it was very powerful. They told us to go and buy whatever you want, suit and whatever, and go and see your parents. We were the first people. I'm from Maranges, Marang. I was the first comrade to go into the community. And people were surprised. The rest were still in the assembly point. But the idea, we had a mission, because they said go and say bye to your parents and see them and tell them that you are going for a mission to Nigeria. We were going to Nigeria to officers course. So at that time they were also preparing our passport. But I was very unfortunate. When I came back, my passport was no longer there with the other two guys. So the first army officers, brigadiers, they were trained in Nigeria. You can go and research on that one. They were trained by Obasanjo in Nigeria. So back again to the National Army, we were surprised. You know, Tongo Gara was no longer there. Our father, he was gone. It was Nongo and Lookout Masuku and so forth. They were saying, we want to form the National Army. We want quality and quantity. What does that mean? That's what they were saying. And the rest, you are going to be demobilized. So if Tongo Gara, most of the comrades, to be honest with you, they were not honored. If Tongo Gara was there, he was going to honor us.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, there are people, I don't know if he is still alive or not. You know, American Mzanyiri, Wangor Nimbire Wondo. You know, Hebet Shungu, you know him. Wangor Nimbire Wondo. They were good fighters. They were very heroic. So if Tongo Gara was there, he was going to honor every comrade, depending with your capability. And we were going to be in the National Army. There was going to be nothing like quantity and quality. We are the one who put Mugabe in power. Even Patsikaedu, we were supposed to be the one. Aimpa Fumori Kutonga kuti, you are going to rule this country. They were president. Before that record is signed thing. But there was nothing like that. So if Tongo Gara was there, he was going to honor every comrade. Those who were commanders, they were going to be honored. There was nothing to ask, hey, what is your education qualification? Why didn't you ask that one when we started fighting to liberate this country? Those people who fought for this country, they were not even, very few of them had degrees. We had no degrees, most of us. It was just grade 7, grade 6, grade 5, whatever. But we managed to liberate this country.
So did you go to Nigeria eventually?
No, I didn't, because my passport, I don't know what happened there. Maybe someone who was responsible put somebody there. Oh, okay. That's corruption. That's when it is.
But you got your 6,000?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I even went back to see Comrade Nongo to see what's going on. And he said, it's okay, because my name I used to be called Comrade Amigo Chiraso. And he knew me because we used to interact. And he said, no problem. You can come back on Monday. You'll be the commander. I will send you to such a battalion there. He said, you will see Muzonzini. I think Muzonzini is now a retired someone. So, but I just said, no. Let me do away with it. Then I joined the Ministry of Health because I trained as a nurse. So I joined the Ministry of Health. I didn't join the National Army.
Okay.
But when during our training at Mugagao, I'll go back again because some of these things you have to recall them. There was a library there. So I used to go into the library and some other guys to read books. That's when I discovered that when you liberate your country, you know, through bloodshed, through war, you need to form an association to safeguard yourself. Because if you don't do that, the politician, the nationalists, they can forget you. And it happened that way. So when I was at the province, at the Ministry of Health, I used to drive a Toyota Land Cruiser to do the outreach, and I used to go everywhere in Manicaland. So I used to see some comrades struggling, and they said, "Hey, hello, how are you?" Some of them, they didn't know me, but I have a very good memory. Everyone whom I used to interact with, if I see you, I can remember you. So that's when I was the first man to form the War Veterans Association. If you check it on Google, you see it. If you check it, the founding member of War Veterans Association, you see my name there. I'm part of it. So I called in that meeting. I don't know, I don't still remember who was in Blawa. I think Chov in Harare, I don't still remember, but in Blawa there's Chov, whom I was communicating. We were coordinating. But you see, this thing, we discussed about it with the people, the likes of late Zoro Duri, Kembo Mohadi, you see, Shoniwa. They wanted it to start from the top going down. Then we said, no, it can't be like that. It has to start from the grassroots going up. So that people who will be selected to be the leaders, they will be chosen by the electorate from the districts, from the grassroots. You can't start having a leadership which will drop to the grassroots from nowhere. It's not possible. So then I called on the formation of it. I called on that ZIPRA and ZANLA, let's have a meeting, such date. The one who was in Harare did the same thing, in Bulawayo did the same thing. Then our gathering there was Sakuva Bite Hall. If you check in Manika Post, I will show you it's there, I have the. So, Mugabe, he didn't want us to form the War Veterans Association because he knew it would be very powerful to him by the virtue of us liberating this country and putting him on power. So he didn't want it. Also, he was just too power hungry. He didn't want things to go in the right way. Because why? When, like I told you, that this war, we had supernatural powers from our ancestors, the Nyanandas, Chaminukas, and so forth. So when we got our independence, he was supposed to call in all the chiefs in Harare, either in the ground, Zimbabwe ground, and us, so that poitwa chikuru kuti madzimambo nyika yasununguka wana wadzoka. What's the way forward? But he never did that because he was just too power hungry and tried to be a heroism on his own. He didn't do that. So what he did through the CIO, through the security agents, there was Trevor there. I know him, Trevor. We used to interact very well. Mugabe was very good. He put a system of divide and rule. Where if I say divide and rule, it means comrade can fight another comrade. Comrade can kill another comrade. That's divide and rule. He never leave a legacy in this country like what Mandela did. He never. He never. In South Africa, people can claim that Mandela said this and that. Why are you doing this? In Zimbabwe, we can't do that because Mugabe never left any legacy at all. So, what they did, they were tasked, the intelligence people, to try and eliminate us. Not by straight killing, but in an intelligent way. So, when I was sleeping, it was on Tuesday. It was only left 5 days towards the meeting. Mbuya Nehanda came to my dreams. She told me, Kut, there is a foreign chap who is going to approach you, and he will be telling you that he is selling a precious stone. Once you entertain that, you are going to be arrested. Then I phoned the other guys in Bulwe and Hara to say, this is the situation. So he came straight to me. I was just buying some groceries because I was driving out. And he came to me. He said, Agora, in Mozambican language, Agora. He was a young fella, just like him, or young fella. Agora, then I just did this. The guy from the intelligence unit said, oh, he was just 50 meters away, like that there. So the idea was, if I entertain him, I could say, come into my car to entertain him. He would just rush to flash his card, say, Netsiyanwa, you are arrested. So their plan was, once we are arrested, when comrades gathered at the meeting, the people would just say, Netsiyanwa choripi, Netsiyanwa choripi, till they...
So you didn't attend the meeting?
I did, because zvakabonderaka.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
zvakabondera,
okay.
because ndakataurirwa nambuya Nehanda muhope.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what you remember. That's why I told you that hondo yedu yatakarwa nemudzimu. Zimbabwe inyika yemudzimu. Wrong. People can do whatever they want to do, but this country is controlled by our ancestors. Whatever. So that's Nehanda. Nehanda. Zimbabwe, we were blessed enough. We had the same history like Britain. You know about the royal family. What does that mean? Pachano kana uchinzi royal family, what does that mean? Noreva kuti imba yene yakabata nyika yese. Whatever British Prime Minister is a problem, you go and consult, and he can be called to say, what you are doing, that's not good. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we were blessed enough. Right now I can ask you, where is Nehanda family now? Even Muzukuru wao, even Chi, where are they? But now we are missing opportunities whereby we have more than 10 people here who are claiming to be Nehanda. But out of that number, there is only one, the true one. But that person is not being supported by us. Because Nehanda imepo inongobuda pa munhu. Yes. Like I told you, Chimoyo, before the attack, yakabuda. The abuda, muna comrade ashikirwa Nehanda, what we used to do is to take off our shoes, take off our watches, then to embera. Taura itinzu. Mbuya. Taura itinzu. Oto kutaura kuti 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shakati. But that person is not even related to Nehanda. So that's the problem we are having. Then I'm now going back to civil war, which we were talking about. The civil war. And it started at Mugagao, started at Morogoro. So, you see, the forces, we had different categories or groups according to generations. They are the first fighters who joined the Shumrenga, or in ZANLA, they are the first fighters who joined in ZIPRA. So there is a generational difference there. And the thinking and their mindset, what was happening, like that era of Mugagao, you see. So when Mugabe was given the mandate to form the National Army, he had that information in mind of Mugagao and all these things, what was happening. So he had the mandate to have the form Zimbabwe National Army, which comprised of Rhodesian forces. That was the agreement. ZIPRA forces, ZANLA forces, and the Skuzapo. Skuzapo, it's a unit which was pretending to be like comrades, but they were being sponsored by Smith, and their commander was McLean, the Irish guy, who even commanded the Nyazonya thing and so forth. So it was very difficult, comrade, for those comrades who joined the National Army.
Okay.
Because you can imagine you are putting on a leopard in the same room with a lion and a zebra in one room. Those guys, I don't think they were able to sleep during the night, because you can't sleep because you have your enemy. You could think that, oh, if I sleep, I will be attacked during the night. But it was a very difficult task for them. Then, when all the comrades, both sides, ZIPRA and ZANLA, were told to surrender, I know there was a resistance from the ZIPRA side, because in Ngomo I used to have some farms. There was resistance, and in those farms I understand there were some weapons. They have artillery, like I said, they trained regular warfare. So Plan B failed at Mugagao and Plan A failed at Mugagao and Morogoro, and Plan B was now after independence. So they resisted. Some of them, they refused to join the National Army. That group, they had the mindset of fighting us. That's a group which was telling us at Mugagao that you take Zimbabwe, then we will fight you. You see, that was a planned thing in there on the ZIPRA side. If investigations is done, it will be noted that, yeah, that was a planned thing. So Mugabe had to train the North Korean brigade. The idea was to counter the civil war with that brigade, because militarily they couldn't send, a brother cannot shoot a brother. You get what I'm saying here? I'm talking about the ZIPRA forces who refused to join the army, the National Army, and those who joined. So if they go and fight each other there, they could just fire the guns up, not shooting the actual target. You see? That's why they sent the 5th Brigade, and it was to crush that civil war. That's when that civil war was crushed in Zimbabwe. Had it not that happened that way, we wouldn't be in a position where we are today. We were going to have civil war in Zimbabwe. So it was crushed there. However, you know, wherever the bulls of lions are fighting, trees and grasses will be uprooted. So those people, they need to be compensated. They are victims of war. They need to be compensated. I think that's why the government had to assign that Gukurahundi issue. I don't know whether if it is happening or not. I'm not very much aware of it. That's why they appointed Kempo Mahadi to see over it, because he knows the norms and values of the Ndebele people. And people should be in a position to come out, like what I'm saying, so that we tell the Zimbabwean people of what happened. There's no point of telling history which is not true when you are not telling something which happened, and you tell something to the nation which is not true. You are misleading. Like I told you about Shimoyo thing, I saw it on the TV there. The guy he never said anything about Mdzimu. They were told before the attack. But there are comrades who know everything about, but they don't have the facilities. They don't have, to have any information these days, you need to have a smartphone, you need to have data. So it's not every comrade who have got data. They can't even afford their food or their health. You see, like I said, when Tongo Gara died, that was the end of our life, and up to now we are still struggling. And there is that thing which is haunting us again. Those comrades, they are saying to us, oh, imimi magarika musina basa nesu tichiri musango. Their spirit haina kuzorora. They are still being burned with the heat. You remember the VP Mahadi, he was in Doroya Kaisamaro. We were told kuti zvakafuma zvaparadzwa zvese kubvarwa. They are not happy. They are not happy. I don't see what is the problem for us. We are now independent. We have all the resources. We can just go with the graders, Nema chiefs. Zimbabwe yesu titauya makomrades tegereyo takanonoka kuuya kuzokutorai. Tauya kukutorai. Totora mabonzo greda rokudura, totora mabonzo zvoya mahero seka zvematebeleland could go to Matebeleland and make those shrines there. After all, the parents who lost their grandsons and daughters, they were not even informed by Mugabe to say, I'm sorry, but we had all that data, because from the community where I came from, even our headman, he is very much aware that so and so went to war, so and so went to war. But but nothing happened at that sort, which that's not the Zimbabwean way. That's not Zimbabwean way. So it will keep on hounding us Zimbabweans. Not us all, not only us. Anything. If there is no whatever, if there is no political instability, it affects everyone. It doesn't choose. Do you know, Kuti, when Tongo Gara was buried at the Hero Sake, I was there. Do you know what happened? Kwakauya chipupuri, I don't know what do you call it in English. Like, you know, Chigo, like psycholine.
We wind. Chimpupuri.
Yeah, we wind. Yeah, yeah. It came, it was a heavy one. To be honest with you, everyone did this at the Hero Sake. Everyone did this. And it goes round, then it went into his grave. That was a sign to say something. That was a sign to say something. And I have a question to ask. We can, even our comrades, we can ask ourselves to say, Mugabe, You buried Josiah Tongogara, the commander of ZANLA forces, at Hiroseka. You buried Jason Ziapapa at Hiroseka. What about their forces? Where did you bury them?
But it is a question that you should be asking yourselves within your association.
Association, do you know that the... I told you that there is that maple irikufamba, ima comrades to the hound. Do you know how many associations are there right now? There are 3. One iriku ina Marashwa, one ina Matibela, one ina Ndia Ngube. I don't know. These guys, I would say 4. The 4th one now, nde duma comrades anozia akango nyarara nungutarisa so. That's the 4th one. Varungutarisa. Oh, time. So you can imagine these guys, they are only fighting for positions. Nothing is happening. Apana zirikubatira ma comrades. So imepo iyoyo. Yema comrades zaroku. They are saying you will never get settled. Isustiri kumu. But azutangi kwa bata kumsoro zvinotanga kwetiri isusu. Because tisu taikavana side by side. Munishenda ku toilet, you cover him. You see, you cover him. It doesn't affect the nationalists. It affects us.
Okay.
So that's my contribution. That as long as those people are still lying there in the bush, we are not going to have good time.
All right. Comrade Amigo, Comrade Netsiyanwa, I have to thank you for your time. We know we're trying to compress so much information within a short period of time. I've met quite a number of war veterans now who say they are in the process of writing books about their personal experiences. I also
I'm in the process. Like all the narrative which I gave you, it's like a book. You know? Yeah, it is like a book. So yeah, like you know, there's this Lidwana nini museum, the
National Archives and Museum.
Yeah, the museum of in Southern Africa, African Liberation Movement.
Okay, yeah.
Like ourselves, we are not happy about the setup there. The staff, what's his name? Kami Krumah, the one who is heading there. He is just a politician. He is not. We need to have like to have a working group whereby, because that museum, it actually stands for the main users of that museum. For it to become a museum are the comrades who fought for this country, both from ZIPRA and ZANLA. We are the one who have to put a lot of narrative within that building so that the next generation will take over.
Okay.
But so that African Museum, they have to have that program to sponsor comrades to write their books so that we put that narrative in writing. Where do you expect me to get money to write a book, whereas I can't even have money to have my medical bills or whatever, even food to put a well-balanced diet on table? Some of us, we are not able to. We are in a situation whereby it's an unthinkable situation. And it's said that we are losing a lot of respect. Who knows why? And why? From my own, thinking, Zimbabweans, us Zimbabweans, it's within our DNA. corruption, greediness, and arrogance. You see, we don't, those things, they are not good for any organization or for any country to build any economy. See? And some of us, we don't care about the history. But history, it is very important. It leads us where we are coming from and where we are going and where we want to go. Because in history, there were good things and there were bad things which need to be, sorted out. So we need to change our mindsets, Zimbabweans. Because most of us, we are forgetting where we came from and what we went through for it to be called Zimbabwe. But I don't blame this young generation. I blame ourselves, the elder generation. We are supposed to lead by examples.
Okay.
So thank you very much indeed. We had a nice time.
Thank you, Comrade Amigo, Comrade Netsiyanwa. There you heard it from the comrade from his own mouth. Yes, it's emotional, but the story has to be told. And from here in Toronto to Mutare Eben, where we are going to meet one or two veterans as well, we ask Comrade Amigo to close with one of his favorite war songs. And on behalf of my producer, Frank Wesere, my name is Robert Afmane, as we listen to the chorus from Comrade Amigo.
Kana futi dzichirira zaindifungisa musham zaindifungisa musha wakanaka weZimbabwe wana baba wana mai waineswa nemabuno zvinondifungisa musha wakanaka weZimbabwe. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
What some of us are fighting for is to see that this oppressive system is crushed. We don't care whether, I don't even care whether I would be part of the top echelon in the room. I'm not worried, but I'm dying to see a change that in the system. That's all. That's all.
Taigara mumakomo Zimbabwe manya dakabatesa tichingira Zimbabwe taigara mumakomo Zimbabwe manya dakabatesa tichingira Zimbabwe vakomana vasikana Zimbabwe magori Zimbabwe manya